Chester. They jumped up and nailed it to my shadow.
Oh, my Chester is a
eagle like a hooker.
my shadow.
You know my shadow's made of timber.
And the storm is a rolling.
The storm is a rolling.
And the storm it's a rolling.
Rolling all down on me.
Yeah, I'm still rolling after everybody's gone. I'm still here rolling after everybody's gone. Yeah, I'm still here rolling and I'm left on my own. The blackbirds have all gone. Everyone's rolled on. I am the Black Crow King, keeper of the trodden corn. I am the king.
Won't say it again.
In the rain, it raineth daily, Lord, and wash away my clothes. Surrender up my arms to a company of crows. I am the Black Crow King.
You know, in some ways, my life is a bit like you know, when you, I don't know if you know this or not, but when you go to a party and you drink too much and you wake up and the next day and you just want to go home. I feel like that quite a lot, actually, but I don't really have anywhere to go. Isn't that sad?
Along the loom of the lane, the mission bells peal from the tower at St. Mary's down a reprobate field.
I came from a country town called Wangaratta.
My father's dead, but my mother's alive, and they both had a very positive attitude to me working in any creative area. My father was a very creative man and worked in theatre and was an English literature teacher, and my mother also. My mother was very encouraging. They wanted me to be a painter, basically. They thought, I guess they thought painting was a little bit further up the ladder than being a rock musician.
But my baby's so vain, she is almost a mirror, and the sound of her name sends a shiver down my spine. Down my spine.
Dictated what I listened to, basically. I was under his, the heavy hand of my older brother. So consequently, I ended up listening to a lot of English progressive rock music, like the Moody Blues and Genesis and Procol Harum and Yes, and you know, the list is endless. But so I had most of my teenage years was consumed with that kind of crap, really. And then I discovered in a record shop Raw Power and thought the cover looked really good and bought that, and things changed for me.
Nick, the stripper, dances on all fours, dances on all fours. He's in his birthday suit. He's in his birthday suit. He's in his birthday suit. He's in his birthday suit.
Well, the reason why we left Australia was that it had become impossible to work there in a way. I mean, we'd been playing for, I don't know, we'd been together for about 3 years or so, and we'd been playing to exactly the same audience for that time, and it never developed. We felt completely alienated toward everything, and that's what came out of it, was very, very violent, very aggressive shows. If we had have been a little more well adjusted to the world that we were living in at the time, we would have played different sort of music, but we weren't.
Sack again, garbage and honey, sack again, garbage and honey, sack again, junk and honey, sack again, junk and can.
I think we started to travel, started to look at other groups and realised that we could do a lot better with our music and take it a lot more seriously.
And I went on down the road, oh yeah, I went on down the road. Everything beneath my head lowered. Yeah, I went on down the road. Oh, whoa, whoa. Oh, wow, wow. Yeah, whoa, whoa. Yeah, whoa, whoa. And I went on down that road.
The first time I ever saw Blixer was in Holland, and there was a kind of special on Einstürzende Neubauten on the TV. The whole band just sort of stood there transfixed by this performance, by this incredibly weird group, and just thought it was the best thing we'd ever seen. And then I think a couple of nights later I met him in some bar somewhere, and we got on very well and became friends, you know. And then we shifted to Berlin, and we were very good friends there in Berlin. We spent a lot of time together. We were waging the war against sleep, as Blixer would put it. We didn't go to sleep very much, basically.
Brother, my cup is empty and I haven't got a penny. But if I no more whiskey, I have to go home. Oh, brother, my cup is empty and I haven't got a penny. But if I no more whiskey, I have to go home.
When I first went to Berlin, one of the first places I ended up staying was Christoph Dreyer's place. He's the leader of Die Haut. And he let me and many of my friends stay in his loft for incredible amount of time. And we became very good friends in the process, and he had his Die Haut, which were a German instrumental guitar band, I guess, going at that time, and we kind of became, I started writing songs for them. We made a record together, and the whole thing's just kind of continued on through the years, really.
What's okay with the boss? It's okay by me. What's okay with the boss? It's okay by me.
Die Gäste, mit denen wir arbeiten, sind eigentlich alles Freunde seit Jahren. Also mit denen wir öfter zusammengearbeitet haben, mit denen wir zum Teil zusammen gelebt haben. Wir haben zum Beispiel Nick haben wir kennengelernt, als wir unsere erste Tour gemacht haben als Supportband für The Birthday Party.
Hi, Christoph. Are we doing another thing now, or what?
Ohne Projektor noch mal eine Probe, bitte. Ruhe, bitte.
Look yonder. Look yonder. Look yonder. A big black cloud comes.
I need a fix, 'cause I'm going down. Back to that bitch that I left uptown.
The beast it cometh down. The beast it cometh down. The beast it cometh down. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Tupelo bound. Yeah. Ah, Tupelo. The beast it cometh Tupelo bound.
And if you're going to San Francisco,
Ridiculous. You look beautiful, Nick.
The experience in Berlin changed my life, definitely. It gave me a confidence in myself, really. To, you know, just to go ahead and do exactly what I wanted to do, and not to worry about the way other people thought of you and so on, which is very much a kind of Berliner attitude.
There's a devil waiting outside your door, and he's bucking and braying and pouring at the floor, and he's howling with pain and crawling up the wall. Oh yeah, he's weak with evil and broken by the world. He's shouting your name and he's asking for more. Give him more, give him more. There's a devil waiting outside your door. Oh yeah.
I've been basically tugging away at the same theme for years, or the same themes for years, these are my obsessions, and the things that I'm just genuinely interested in writing about, and will continue to write about.
I open my eyes, Joe. The night being a giant, the dribbling and a face in the balls. I open my eyes, Joe, with the letters and cars all stacked up against the door. I open my eyes, Joe, and the morning light keeps slowly tumbling through the crack in the window, Joe. And I thought of you, man, and I felt like I was lugging a body on my back. Yes, and I had a dream. I had a dream, Joe.
The most difficulty writing a song for me is coming up with the initial idea of what to actually write about. Once I've thought of that and find the one line that basically represents this song, then the writing of it's relatively easy, actually.
spooked by the new shadows that she cast, across the sad waters and across my heart.
When nothing's coming lyrically, I sit down at the piano and sort of bang away like that. But music that I write on the piano that hasn't got lyrics to it is usually quite meaningless to me. Occasionally you can write a good riff or something like that that's kind of a good tune or something like that. But basically the lyrics are the sort of foundation stones to the songs. If I write a good set of lyrics that I'm really happy with, then the music just comes like that. It's very, very quick. I mean, the songs suggest the music, really.
Knocking on Joe. You can stay or you can run, but your trial is yet to come. Knocking on the door. Yeah. Why go knocking on Joe? Lay your burden down.
I get very inspired by people that I know, and often see it as my job in a way to somehow document the types of people that they are. And I mean, in the song Diana, that was definitely the case. I was so besotted by this girl at the time of writing that song that I felt that it was necessary to document what she was like and the feeling that I had when I was with her, which was basically that we could do anything and anything would be okay.
I'm down here for your soul. There's no carpet on the floor, and the winding clock holds many marks around your Ku Klux furniture. I come a death's head in your frock, and we discuss the murder plan. We discuss murder and the murder act. Murder takes a wheel like a Cadillac, and Jack climbs in the back.
I don't write enough songs to be able to pick and choose, really. I mean, I just write what I can and what comes out, and use it. And the people around me, if it sometimes appears that the people around me come off badly, or that I'm over kind of critical, or I'm angry at these people, it's generally because I write, and I write songs very often in this state of mind. But I think the people around me understand that.
Oh, well, I got a woman. She strikes me down with a hand of lead. Oh, we bed in a bucket of butcher's knives. I awake with a hatchet hanging over my head.
Y'all know the story of the viper. It's long and it's lean. Scatter boys and
Each member of the band is quite free to express themselves however they like, and they're tolerated. And we find the idiosyncrasies of each member quite interesting, quite funny, really. So, you know, there's very little bitching going on between us.
if you miss the train I'm on, then you know that I'll be gone. But I'm 5
Alex is crying too.
Always crying that song.
Because we were so far away from home, from our families and our friends.
500 miles. Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. Not a shirt on my back, not a penny to buy.
I am crying. Must be the harmonies.
This away 500 miles, 500 miles, 500 miles, 500 miles. Lord, I'm 500 miles away from
Obviously, Nick's the head of the group, and when it comes to deciding about things, we'll discuss things. But then, obviously, if it's anything that is relevant to everybody else, it gets discussed with them too. They're all band members. They have to kind of like what we're going to go ahead with as well.
He'll wrap you up in his arms, tell you good boy. He'll rekindle all that's true, lifetime to destroy. He'll reach deep in the hole, he'll shrink his soul that he buried. Don't you know he's going back? He's a ghost, he's a god, he's a man, he's a good. Well, the earth turned his name through this disappearing air, but his cold is a red ride.
I think that if we attempted, which we've never ever considered to do, and I don't really think we would know how to go about doing it, but to try and be a fashionable group, or to try to do a record, for example, that was relevant to what was going on musically at the time, we would fail dismally, and it would be the end of us, I would say. It takes me quite a long time to build up a relationship with somebody, and once you have a trusting relationship with somebody, then why find new people?
I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Ich schätze und habe immer geschätzt, was Nick macht. Halte ihn für ein wirklich großes Talent in mehreren Hinsichten, also sowohl als Schreiber als auch als Sänger und vor allen Dingen als jemand, der eine todsichere geschmackliche Einschätzung hat.
This is a weekend song. It's song in which to win. While all the men and women sleep. This is a weekend song, but I won't be weeping long.
Er ist eine sehr wichtige Person, nicht nur von der Musik. Also das ist für mich sowieso an zweiter Stelle, die Band oder so. Das geht darum, dass ich die Leute als Person kennengelernt habe. Und dann haben wir gesagt, wir spielen zusammen. Und sonst, wir haben Höhen und Tiefen durchgemacht. Und das ist eine viel längere Geschichte, als es die Musik zeigt.
I think it's really, for me, it was that thing of getting at his ideas in such a way that, like, you know, nothing really gets in the way of that. He's really so focused on it. That was the thing that really inspired me the most, seeing his songwriting approach, and also as a performer as well.
Well, he really does have a muse, and it's not me, it's a real one, it's not human.
Blues ist das ja letztendlich. Nick Cave ist ja ein King der Blues-Sänger, würde ich behaupten.
When you walk into well, I don't know.
Not many people key into the fact that he's got an incredible sense of humor, because, you know, the music is really serious and the writing is very serious, it's very heavy, and there's not a whole lot of humor in it, just because it's so intense and it's going for such a deep thing. But when you hang out with the guy, he's just, he's really funny.
He needs to have people around him all the time. He has a great deal of difficulty on being on his own. That's why if he doesn't have people around him, he has a video on. If he doesn't have a video on, he's going to the cinema. You know, I mean, he once told me that travelling business or first class was the perfect situation for him, because he'd be on a plane, he'd have his drink served for him, he'd have a choice of videos to watch, and he'd be able to sit down there, and he preferred it to being on the land.
Right. Feine Cruz, Kielmachine. Mas pecados castigados en Jesus. Feine Cruz, Kielmachine. Feine Cruz.
We have a kind of relationship that goes back to being at school together, and we kind of hung around in the same group, you know, we were playing together in a band already, but we weren't like best friends or anything. And so I think really our friendships gotten better over the years, if anything, and probably even got better through all the crazy years too.
I'm Nick Cave, and I'm going to read to you from my book, And the Astor the Angel. Thank you very much, sir. I don't want to say too much about the book, except that it's about the central character is a guy called Euclid Ukro, who is a mute. He can't speak. And he is the loneliest boy in the history of the world.
It was his brother who tore the call on the morning of their birth, and as if that sole act of assertion was to set an inverted precedent for inertia in his life to come, Euclid, then unnamed, clutched a hold of his brother's heels and slopped into the world with all the glory of an uninvited guest.
I have a tendency to look at people and say that they are good people simply because they're interesting. And what's interesting to me in a character is their faults and their problems. And so I'm basically writing about dysfunctional, faulty, bad people, if you want to use that word. And they're all kind of heroes of mine in a way.
The house of cards leaned, hung in the air for a moment, and then collapsed. And so did the frail edifice of Pa's mind. Pa leapt from his chair and threw himself across the room, picking up all the speed he could muster, while his wife drew long and intimate upon her bottle. He slammed his head into hers, hammering her head face first against the wall. Glass splintered as the bottom of the stone bottle stood in her mouth, smashed the glass of the wedding picture.
The book took a long time to write. It took about 5 years to write. It was, and I was very obsessed with the book, and it was a kind of couple of years in conception. I mean, it was in my head for a couple of years, this story.
Just about every idea I had, I managed to manipulate in some way and put into this book.
So I simply watched the child, clutching her knees beneath her crisp cotton dress, loose and very white. And if it were not for the fact that her toes were curling and flexing and moving in the dust, her shiny pumps discarded by her side, I could have mistaked her for a lesser work, chiseled by the same deft hand that created the marble angel, sickle and blonde bangs bright as the moon that loomed aloft and deadly still. Beth of stone, spawn of sin, spawn of sin.
I was kind of learning how to write a book while I wrote that book, and I've sort of had my affair with the English language to a certain extent, you know, going through dictionaries and obscure dictionaries and going, oh, fuck, you know, what a great word for, you know, for this, you know, and kind of writing it down. And I had like 6 dictionaries that I'd made myself with as many, you know, words, basically words that other people don't know. Basically, that was it. And I felt there was a kind of comic element I felt in writing a book with so many words people don't know. I don't know. I just sort of found that funny at the time I was writing it. I'm not really sure if I find it funny now. But it's, you know, I think with the next book I would certainly make it simpler.
So far away and yet so close.
Come on, kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me, come in here and fucking try to kill me!
I'm a musician and I'm a writer and I have these occupations to take up most of my time. I'm not a struggling actor, so I can look at film roles and be able to throw them away, and if something particularly interesting comes my way, then I'll do it.
Officer! Come here! I'm bleeding! Come in here so I can spit in your fucking eyes!
Ja, die Grundideen bei Danny, der Würfel, der Zufall, Sehnsucht, Chaos. Und gleichzeitig ist es läuft es parallel mit der Story Candide von Voltaire, ne? Der junge Mann jagt durch die Welt und schaut sich die vielen verschiedenen Kulturen und Welten und Länder und Philosophien und Religionen an und sieht das große Chaos. Das aber auch faszinierend ist. Diese vielen verschiedenen Arten von Menschen, wie sie was machen, wozu, etc. etc. Und das habe ich für mich in diesem Film Dandy nachvollzogen, indem ich meine Helden in Anführungsstrichen der Kultur wie Nick, Nina, Blixer, aus der Musikszene hauptsächlich, auch Tanz, Kazuo, Ono, zusammengebracht habe, die dieses ausdrücken. Die drücken etwas aus, das du ja, so im Leben halt fühlst.
Optimismus, was ist das? Fragt der Kakambo. Ach, sagt der Candide, das ist der Irrsinn, alles wunderschön zu finden, wenn es einem hundsmiserabel geht.
Der Nick war eine Art Local Hero in Berlin. Anfang der 80er Jahre und ich habe den auch oft gesehen in Konzerten und hatte ihn auch schon mit den Birthday Party schon singen sehen und fand, dass er halt nicht nur ein großartiger Sänger, sondern ein richtig guter Dichter ist.
No one saw the carny go. I say it's funny how things go.
Wir haben jetzt 3 Filme hintereinander gemacht und die schönsten Lieder, die er überhaupt geschrieben hat, denke ich, für einen Film ist wirklich, was er in weiter Ferne so nah gemacht hat, Cassiel Song. Glaube ich, was Besseres könnte man sich als Filmemacher nicht wünschen, dass man jemand nur die Geschichte erzählt und dann schreibt er so ein Lied.
While time outran you and trouble flew toward you and you were there to greet it, weren't you, foolish Cassiel?
I love writing songs for films. I love the idea that it actually is someone else's idea and someone that you respect and admire, and that you are free just to write something for them, almost as a gift.
Look at him, man. Waiting for me like a little trained poodle.
It's a comedy. I play an aging rock star junkie albino.
Hey, babe. I'd like you to meet an old friend of mine.
Johnny.
But you two know each other? Well, good. Because Johnny's going to be staying with us for a couple of days. Hey, where are you going?
I'm very precious about what I do and refuse many, many things because of that. And I don't take many risks in that respect. And I did with this film. I took a risk with this film. And in the end, I think the film's okay. I mean, it's not the sort of film that I would put in my top 10 or anything like that. But I guess I sort of could survive that in some way.
They call me Mama, they call me Mama's boy, but I don't care. I'll be a mama, I'll be a mama, I've been a mama's boy since Daddy got the electric chair.
The next song we'd like to play is entitled Saint Hug.
Born in a river, born in this ever-changing, never-changing murky water. Well, the river will keep a rolling along through the great, great, greasy city. Hawk standing like a saint upon its deck. You wanna catch a saint, then bait your hook. Yeah, take a leaf from my book. Oh, come to me, oh, come to me. That's what the dirty city say to Hawk.
You know, when you were asked what you wanted to be when you grow up, I wanted to be a painter. I really worked very hard to become one and went to art school. I was criticised early on in my second year for painting sleazy art. by an old matron who was working there for God knows why, but she was one of the art teachers. She painted eggs and thought that they were the perfect form, and her life work was painting the egg shape. And I'd done some penis shapes on my canvas, and she decided, I said, well, what do you think? She says, I cannot relate to sleazy art, which I remember, this is like 20 years ago. I still remember this. And consequently, that was a kind of turning point for me, so that my art became sleazy and more sleazy until they just threw me out. This is an album of compiled pictures that I have put together. This is Jesus at the well with Saint Genevieve, and here is a young man watching a woman urinate, and there's something that ties us here. Here's Saint Teresa the Carmelite with her feather, and here is a young woman being tickled by feathers.
Christina the Astonishing lived a long, long time ago.
I like a lot of the German Gothic painters. Stefan Lochner, he's one of my favourite painters. I like a lot of religious painting. I read the Bible a lot, and it's a rich source of ideas for me. And yeah, so I mean, it's a very hypnotic, affecting book and seductive book. And the story of Christ is to me a very seductive story, and a very mysterious story. And the way in which his life is written about is the images that are used to describe his life and his ideas and stuff are very exciting to me. And there's a certain amount of borrowing from the Bible, I would say.
In heaven his throne is made of gold, the ark of his testament is stone, the throne from which I'm told all history does unfold. Down here it's made of a wood and wire, and my body is on fire, and God is never far away. Into the mercy seat I climb, my head is shaved, my head is wide, like the moth that tries to enter the bright eye. So I go shuffling out of life just to hide in death a while.
Life after death frightens me slightly. I have a tendency to think there's some sort of system of balance, and you have to kind of pay for the trouble you've caused, and occasionally that worries me a bit. Other times it doesn't. Other times it just seems very logical that you die and you go in the ground and that's it.
And the mercy seat is a-glowing, now I think my head is smoking. In a way I'm hoping to be done with all these looks of disbelief. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and in a way there was no proof, nor a motive why.
When I stopped taking drugs, I was told that I'm going to, that my whole life is going to change, and you're going to come out of this black void into the light and all this bullshit, which is just a whole lot of crap, and nothing really changes. Nothing's changed for me. It might change for some people, but I don't feel that I actually have a very more positive relationship with the world.
And who will be the witness? Who will be the witness? Who will be the witness when you're all too blind to see?
Most people learn to deal with life and learn to deal with their relationships and all that sort of stuff, and become real people in a way. The artist doesn't, because he's unable to spend the time doing that. And so I tend to think I have quite a healthy creative life. Things seem to be going very well in that area. I'm still writing. I'm still writing decent songs. I'm still popular. I still get people coming along to the concerts, all that sort of thing. But my personal life tends to remain in a kind of state of chaos. And I never really seem to have the time to kind of put it all together.
Come loose your dogs upon me and let your hair hang down. You are a little mystery to me. Every time you call around, we talk about it all night long. We define our moral ground. But when I crawl into your arms, everything, it comes tumbling down. Come sail your ships around me and burn your bridges down. We make history, baby, every time you come around.
I understand people more. Before I was incredibly naive. I mean, I am a very naive person, but before I was, 10 years ago, I would fall in love at the drop of a hat and think that they were that these people were the greatest things in the world, and give myself completely over to them and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not like that anymore. That's youthful. Yeah, I don't know. More, I know the way of the world these days a little bit more.
I go when no man before me bothered to go, till the soles of my shoes are shot full of holes, and it's all downhill with a bullet.
Going to Brazil was very important to me, and changed my life a lot. I wasn't conscious of it then. I just felt it was like going to another country, and it's a new country, and so I've been to lots of new countries.
Forces me down, my soapbox, my pulpit.
I used to feel proud of the fact that I was alienated from everything and didn't really need anybody, and the people were kind of dispensable in my life, and I kind of lived my life in that way. Experiencing Brazil as a country, meeting Vivian and having Luke, it did change things enormously. I don't know if it necessarily changed my opinions about things, but it changed my kind of sensitivity to the world in a way. I feel differently to the world. I feel a bit more a part of the world. What I like about São Paulo is basically the people and the energy of the city. I just don't find that in a lot of other places. The people are incredibly warm-hearted people, and you really feel quite alive being there. it's such a huge city that I can just get lost in it. I become slightly unobtainable to a degree, and I can run my life on my own terms. In a way, I escape to Brazil sometimes. Usually after I've worked pretty hard on something, which I do in Europe or wherever, yeah, kind of head for Sao Paulo and live there. But on the other hand, it's virtually impossible to actually operate a career out of there. I have a nice balance between the two, I think, actually. I live just down the street here, and I don't know. This is just my favourite bar. It has the best barman in the world. Big guy, Pedro. I come here. I don't speak Portuguese very well. I sit here by myself. I read, contemplate the meaning of life, and I'm left alone.
I found her on a night of fire and noise. Wild bells rang in a wild sky. I knew from that moment on that I'd love her till the day that I died. And I kissed away 1,000 tears, my lady of the various sorrows. Some begged, some borrowed, some stolen, some kept safe tomorrow. On an endless night, silver star spangled, the bells from the chapel went jingle, jingle. Do you love me? 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 Do you love me like I love you?
My career has gone on for so long now that there are periods in my career when I am obsolete and just don't relate to anything that's going on at the time, and I like that a lot. It's those periods I'm not really that aware of the fact that it's happening, actually, because I'm quite ignorant of what else is going on around me. But when I look back on the way things are, I can see that there were periods in my career where I wasn't relating to anything that was going on at all. And then, occasionally, I sort of graze shoulders with fashionability again, and then sort of move on into obscurity again. I enjoy that a lot. There's other artists like that. Leonard Cohen is like that, I think. Bob Dylan is like that. No, I'm not sort of fit to tie their shoelaces. It encourages you to hold on to your own vision of things.